Hello everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars, the first foray into skirmish tabletop game by Free League Publishing. Alright, I am going to be taking a look then at Skirmish Mayhem in the Mutant Year Zero universe. This is the skirmish game Zone Wars from Free League. On the back you can see that you lead a band of mutant stalkers into the zone to fight others to scavenge artifacts from the ancients, stake out your claim, or die trying. Designed by Andy Chambers, along with Thomas Harenstam. Almost undoubtedly not how that's pronounced. Set includes 10 miniatures in 32mm, 5 for the Arks and 5 for the Genlab Tribe, plus cards, dice, tokens, game mat, everything else you need to play. These miniatures are delivered with a Sundrop coat of paint, so not painted, but they are highlighted, I suppose is the best way to put it. So what do you get in the box? Well, right off the bat, a sheet of tokens, Genlab and Ark Mutants, and if I flip those, see the little targets on the back. These are the artifact tokens that you'll be attempting to loot, and then other +1s just for various markings. It's good 2mm, 1.5 maybe, cardstock. Nice finish on it. Lovely finish on the mat. So have a look at the mat in a moment. We also have a host of paper and card. So, rulebook, and then our card punch runes. Die, meat eater, die. It screams. Lord Gatton. Nice bits of terrain to pop in. A whole host of markers. Your range ruler, health, mutant token, mutation tokens. And we also have Bear's Gatton, Berg Gatton, and some interior floors. They're all really nice. Good quality. Nice gloss finish and some really nice detail on the print. We'll take a look at in more detail in a moment. And then we have our tray of miniatures, cards and dice for the game itself. So let's pop some things out, stick it all together and see what we've got in a bit more detail. Okay, so taking a closer look at the contents then, we'll start with the rules. So this booklet is 24 pages, starts with explaining the core mechanics, how you measure, and the characters. Then you get into a game round. So you activate a model. They are drawn randomly from a bag or cup. The tokens can be either for your side, your opponent, or they can be a zone token. We'll talk about those a little later with the deck of cards. The type of activations you can do within there. So your move, aiming, firing, simple operations, charges and melee. So it's all well laid out. Not a lot of instructional images in here. It's all text, really. I know some people prefer diagrams. I'm ambivalent as long as the text itself is specific enough that you're not going to start running into problems, and the game seems to be relatively simple, that it covers everything, but some people prefer the visualization, so maybe that would have been a nice thing to pop in. Some scenarios at the back, so throwdown, street fight, up to the Ark Defense. So you've got 5 of those, and then at the end we have a solo play variation, and the buildings, how to put them together. Well, not really how to put them together, what they are. So they're all numbered and lettered. So all the G's go together to make this little end terrace house. So nice little booklet. Not a lot of reading in there. So relatively quick to get going. Very quickly take a look at the mat. It is a sort of satin / wax finish. A nice thick grade of paper stock. One side is your muddy tundra, and it's a really good resolution on it as well. The other side, if I can get this out, is actually a dual carriageway. So 2 roads running right down the middle, and then a good chunk on either side for people to set up buildings or ambushes from. That's a 90 by 90 centimetre mat, or 3 foot square for Americans. Speaking of the buildings, I popped them together. Relatively quick to do. Nice sturdy build on them, and that texture, as we've already seen, is great. Interesting design on the plugs. You can see it there. So the mortise and tenon that they're going into, it's like a squashed M or W. So it holds it very well, but allows you to pull it out without ripping it apart. So for storage, that should hopefully maintain the buildings a bit longer. Sometimes with cardboard buildings, it's those tabs that go first. So we have a 2-storied building. So for a bit of height, there's this single leveled house. Again, like I say, really nice textured design on them. You can see the weeds encroaching on the inside. Somebody's had a little accident upstairs. Not quite sure about this. Roof is boarded, but on the inside it looks like it's got slate or tiles, but you can't really reverse that without putting it that way around, which I suppose isn't the worst in the world. You could probably get away with that, but the shadows look a bit off then, because they're mostly from below. Not sure what happened there, if that was deliberate or not. There are a couple more large ruined buildings. Again, the little floor on it. So coverage wise, I mean, you've got a lot of cover from these large ruined sections, of which there are 4 in the box. And then there's also a set of little barricades. So a set of tires, a little fence. So those are all quite cute. And again, for a one-stop shop, for getting a starter set on the table and not having to worry about finding a mat or terrain, even the little trees are handy. So really nice set of cardboard terrain in there, and should get people off and running in a quick fashion. So next up then we have the cards and miniatures. These miniatures are absolutely gorgeous. I will say that. For board game pieces, they are top notch. 32mm round base. Figures themselves are around 30 to eye level, 40 to wingtips. And that sort of shaded sun drop affair that they call it, plucks out all the detail. So really nice. You can see here he's one of the Ark Mutants. So we have Frampton. You've got range, melee, survival, and health. These are all dice pools, except health, obviously. Starting gear and mutation cards. So there are sets of little decks of cards that contain their bits and pieces as well. We'll take a look at those in a moment. But you have Franton, Kryn, Hugest, Danko, and then Naphtha for the Ark. And then we have the Genlab Tribe, Ducks, Broman, Pharaoh, Moose, and Reuben. When they do get sufficiently damaged, they become bloodied, and you flip that over. The stats vary because of that. These are standard game card size, and they have a linen finish, so they'll be relatively hard wearing if you're not going to sleeve them. I imagine a lot of people will sleeve those. The actual faction models then, if I pull these in, you've already seen one, but here are the rest. And they're a good looking bunch of figures. If I had one criticism about the game, there's not much in the way of the setup. So if you're not familiar with Mutant Year Zero, which I'm not really, then I don't really know who these people are or what's going on. So maybe some little snippets of stories or a bit of background would help flesh that out a little. I'm sure it's something that I can dive into in the future. He's got a beast of a chainsaw as he comes screaming out of the woodline towards people. And this is actually a good example of how the game mechanics work as well. So, like Mutant Year Zero, which Free League uses for a lot of their RPGs, it's a dice pool game where you have a push your luck mechanic. So, for example, if I grab Hugest's card there, his melee is 5, so he would roll 5 of these yellow dice. He also has starting gear of chainsaw. So, in this case, it's a melee weapon with a bonus +3. But those would be equipment dice. And then when he's rolling his dice pool, 6s are successes, great. 1s are failures, less great, but they can do something. So on the yellow dice, they can spawn a mutation point, which you can use for other things in game. If it's a 1 on the black die, though, it is a bit of equipment damage, and your equipment can take so much damage before it goes away. So essentially it loses 1 effectiveness for each point of damage on it. Now, because I didn't roll any 1s on the initial roll, I could choose to push to try and get a few more successes. That would stay. You can roll as many of these as you want, and I would get 3 more. Sorry, 3 in total. So that'd be 3 points of damage plus a mutation point for myself for Hugest. So that's kind of how the system works. We pull in the Genlab crew. These are really gorgeous models. I like that they've gone with a big chunky board game size on them as well. And in case you're wondering, they are pre-assembled plastics. There is a certain amount of flex on some of the pieces, but overall they're relatively stiff plastic. I think Ducky, his crossbow had a bit of flex in it. So, but you can see things like a herringbone pattern on his sweater. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous level of detail. So if you are going to paint these, there's a ton you can do with them because they're just class. Some of the other cards then, if I pop those out of the way. As I was saying, you draw initiative by tokens from a bag, The other things that are in there are some zone cards. And if you get a zone token, it applies to the last model that activated. And then you just do whatever it says on the tin. So in this case, a land shark. It's a survival test. If you pass it, the land shark attacks a chosen model on the battlefield with 8 base dice. If you fail, it attacks the activating model with 8 base dice. And after the initial attack, every model who moves on the battlefield must roll survival. If they fail, the land shark attacks immediately after the move. Leave this card on the table as a reminder. So this one remains in play as you get jawsed by a land shark. But there are other things like hotspots or leeches, strange find, which gives you a random artifact card, triggers for the scenarios, which will explain in the scenario what those triggers may be, depending on what you're trying to do. So that's an interesting way to change things up. That's what some of the tokens are for as well. So you can never be entirely certain that you're going to be safe even after you've moved. Something may come a cropper. Mutations then and artifacts are the two other big things. So the artifacts are what you're here for, which could be revolvers, hunting rifles, laser pistol, it is the future after all, or something a bit more prosaic, like a road sign, or my own personal favourites, rubber duck and teddy bear. They're still worth points, you know, these crazy artifacts from a pre-existing civilization. Who knows what they were for? Who knows what you can use this vacuum cleaner melee weapon for? Clearly it was a terrifying object to the people in the past. And then there's also the mutations, which are split into a couple of types. So there's feral and physical. And your physical mutations have the likes of acid spit or flesh eater. So things you can upgrade your mutant band with over time, whether they are self-healing or acid spitting. And then the feral ones give you additions to your sort of your physical prowess, so sprinting, climbing, burrowing. People won't expect that if they're hiding behind a wall, all of a sudden for you to come up behind them. Big antlers. So, yeah, interesting set of mutations to go with the rest of the game itself. Interesting concept behind it. I'm dying to find out more about things like the Genlab and the Ark Mutants and see exactly where they fit into the world. I'd just love to find out a bit more about it. So there you have it, folks. Andy Chambers designed. Andy's always done some cracking stuff over the years, and this is no exception. It's a setting that I'm not familiar with, but I'm a big fan of Free League's RPGs, and when I seen Andy's name attached, I had to pick it up just to see what it was like, and I'm not disappointed. The Genlabs and the Ark Mutants, two interesting factions. I like the idea of the new future world, this post-apocalyptic devastated landscape where people are out looking for interesting tech and trying not to be eaten by leeches or giant plague rats when they do so. Carving out your own little point in the post-apocalypse and sometimes finding all the rubber ducks you can, filling a bathtub with them, whatever you want. The game plays very quickly from what I can see from the rules, and the actual contents of the box set are a terrific starter. The two 5-man factions are really nice. I like the sun drop effect, which is a touch they didn't have to do, but I assume a lot of board game players aren't miniature painters as well, so it's nice for them, nice for me not to have to worry about it for a little while. And then the cardstock terrain and the mat are some of the nicest I've seen, really good quality. So once again, Free League have spared no expense in getting this out there. And I suppose for their first tabletop miniature game, they really wanted to make a good impression, and they've certainly done so with this. But let me know what you think below, folks. I'm going to move on. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.